Welcome to the Underline This podcast, the podcast where we unpack the big ideas, hiding in the margins, because the best parts, they're between the lines. What does it mean to be a man in 2026? In a world where 1 in 7 men reports having no friends, where men account for 3 out of every 4 deaths of despair in America, and where boys and young men are falling further behind in education, work, and connection, Scott Galloway says the answer isn't more macho posturing. It's honest reflection, real emotional strength, and a new kind of masculinity that finally confronts the crisis too many have ignored. Notes on Being a Man is Scott Galloway's candid, unsentimental guide to modern masculinity, especially for young men navigating a world where traditional male scripts have collapsed, but no clear replacements have emerged. Rather than offering platitudes or, quote, alpha male mythology, Galloway focuses on economic stability, discipline, service, and responsibility as the foundation of a meaningful male life. Now, the book argues that while society has made real progress in expanding opportunities for women, many men, particularly working and middle-class men, have quietly fallen behind in education, income, mental health, and purpose. Galloway's core thesis is blunt. You don't find meaning, you earn it. Now, the book blends personal anecdotes, fatherhood, divorce, career failures, data-driven analysis, and hard-earned advice on money, relationships, work, fitness, and identity. It's less about being happy and more about becoming useful, trustworthy, and resilient. This is not a manifesto. It's a set of field notes from someone who has lived, failed, observed patterns, and is trying to tell the truth before the costs of ignoring young men grow even higher. Who is Scott Galloway? Scott Galloway is a professor of marketing at NYU Stern, entrepreneur and founder of several companies such as L2, Red Envelope, Profit. He's a best-selling author, The Algebra of Happiness, Adrift, and host of the Pivot podcast and the Prof G Show. Galloway grew up in a financially unstable household, lost his father to alcoholism, and built success largely through structure, discipline, and professional focus. Over time, he became increasingly vocal about what he sees as a systemic abandonment of young men, especially those with elite credentials or safety nets. Now, the motive behind Notes on Being a Man is partly paternal. Galloway has spoken openly about watching male students struggle more than female students, seeing rising male loneliness, unemployment, and despair. Wanting to say things young men aren't hearing without sugarcoating or shaming them. This book reads like a father's talk that many men never got: direct, flawed, caring, and urgent. Let's dive headfirst into some key themes here. 1. Meaning comes from responsibility. Now, purpose is not discovered through introspection. It's built through commitment to work, family, community, and craft. It's freedom without responsibility, because freedom without responsibility leads to emptiness. 2nd, economic stability is moral infrastructure. Galloway is unapologetic. Money matters, not for status, but for dignity, optionality, and the ability to care for others. Financial independence is framed as a prerequisite for adulthood. Next, masculinity is not dominance. The book rejects caricatures of masculinity, aggression, entitlement, performative toughness. Instead, it emphasizes reliability, physical health, emotional restraint, not repression, and service over self-expression. Next, young men are falling behind, and that's dangerous. Galloway presents data on educational gaps, declining male labor participation, rising male suicides, loneliness, and radicalization. Now, his warning is that societies that fail their young men eventually pay a political and social price. Next, love is built, not found. Romance is portrayed realistically. Attraction follows competence and stability. Long-term love requires sacrifice. Being interesting matters less than being dependable. Now let's go into some symbolism and some significance. Now, this is not a symbolic novel, but the structure itself is. For example, the notes. The fragmented aphoristic format mirrors a notebook, a set of margin underlines, advice passed down informally, not doctrinally. And this reinforces the idea that masculinity isn't a rigid ideology. It's a practice refined over time. And the man as a builder. Men are repeatedly framed as builders, not just of companies, but of stability, institutions, families, and trust. The absence of builders leads to decay, both personal and societal. Mainstream media references. Now, it is, by the way, going to do a little bit of a pivot here. There are no movie or TV adaptations about Notes on Being a Man. But that being said, its ideas echo themes seen in movies such as Fight Club, which is about male dislocation, but without nihilism. The show Mad Men, which talks about status versus meaning, and modern podcast culture, replacing traditional mentorship. Now, unlike fictional portrayals, Galloway refuses romantic tragedy or rebellion. His solution is boring by design, and that's the point. And that's why this book matters. Culturally, it enters a polarized conversation about masculinity without pandering to extremes. It validates male struggle without excusing male failure. It reframes success as contribution, not visibility. In conclusion, a line of thought worth underlining. This book isn't asking men to reclaim power. It's asking them to reclaim responsibility. And that may be the most countercultural message of all. My final takes here. Notes on Being a Man is not comforting, but it is clarifying. It doesn't promise happiness. It promises a path out of drift. In a world obsessed with identity, Galloway quietly argues that character still wins. And that's a line worth underlining. Thank you for listening to the Underline This podcast. Give us a follow on social media and wherever you get your podcasts. Check out the Underline This blog for show notes and other amazing recommendations. Thank you, everyone.